Hello, my name is Tim Lahili, and in this video we're going to be talking about the July release of Quincy. The overall numbers are listed here. We had 4 changes, 20 features, and 63 fixes. There were, however, not a ton of significant features. We've got the ones that I think are of meaning listed here, and there was some pretty good action again on QView, particularly in terms of redaction and facets getting in. I think those are really cool. But elsewhere in the product, there wasn't a ton that went into this release. We spent a lot of time getting ready for future releases and some more meaningful back-end work. But in terms of things that you as users can see, there's not a heck of a lot to the release. But there are a few things worth noting. We did some improvement to report. We've got the ability to manage QView layouts, which I think is cool, and we have what we call a translation lock. This is just for efficiency. So we can scale tagging a little bit more robustly, so you can enter a ton of words in and then just run the tagging. And then QView, again, some good action on QView. But let's go in and quickly talk over some of these features in Quincy, and then I'll show you the QView features, and then we'll call it a day. So let's hop into the product. For reports, it's pretty straightforward. Let's just go to report. Specifically, we're talking about the FTK report section. We now have this grid. This grid didn't used to be here. It will show you any reports you currently have in any given case. I don't think I actually have any reports on this system at all, so I don't think there's anything to show. But let's say we had some reports in the demo case, and we were to click load. Oh, perfect. We do actually have some. So this shows you the reports, and you can go ahead and download them straight from here. It just makes it a lot easier to manage instead of having to go find the case folder and find out where the report is. It'll show you in the path here too if you want to go directly to it, but you can also just download. So those are the changes to reports. We did what we call translation lock. Let me quickly show you that. Where is the localization widget? Right here. Open this. I don't think I got it. Give that a second to load here. And now we have, if we come over here to, I think it's in the byword section, we now have what we call the translation lock. If you click this button, believe it or not, the translation widget is actually by far the slowest and hardest to load and the most problematic widget in terms of load speeds and responsiveness of the UI. And that's particularly true if you're using a translated UI. So what this allows you to do is to input the translation and then just click this lock button. And what that will do is it will effectively make that translation permanent. It will go through, change all the files to the native translation you have in, and permanently make that change. And then it will remove the localization widget completely and allow you to move at faster speeds with the properly translated interface. Probably most of you will never ever use this feature. Even those of you in a foreign language will probably just ask us to use it for you, but nonetheless it's here. It's made great improvement in terms of speeds. Okay, let me see what other, oh yeah, there's a tagging feature worth showing. Now, it used to be that if you wanted to enter search terms, you could enter Tim, and we want that label to be given label 1. And then we could do Tim2 and label 1 again, and we go do this, and we'd have both headed to label 1. But people sort of got frustrated by that syntax and wanted something slightly easier, so now you can do Tim2, Tim3, and go ahead and do that, and it will load all those into the one label, and you can run it, and all those words would be associated with the label 1. So that's that. Now, the most exciting thing we did was the ability to manage QView layouts. Let me show you how to do that. To do that, you come into the admin widget. You go to configure. You go to viewer and then to QView. And you're going to have to click this button. I've already clicked it, which is why you see stuff here, but it doesn't automatically register. So even if you have layouts, if you don't have this button pressed, if you haven't pressed it at least once, you won't see them. But once you've pressed it, it will load the layouts. You can see I have two. I have a viewer layout and a grid layout. It will allow you to assign those layouts to different users. So if I wanted to give ABC those layouts, I could come here and say viewer and grid, and then click save, and ABC and whoever else I have checked, I have someone else checked, and Tim would get both of those layouts. If I ever want to know what layouts a user has, I can come here and say, hey, let's see what Bob has. Click on Bob, and he's got viewer grid. Let's see what Simple 1 has. He's got viewer grid also. Let's see what Demo 3 is. Nothing's been assigned to Demo Review 3. So if I wanted to assign something, I could go ahead and click Save here, and Demo Reviewer 3 would get those layouts. If I ever want to see what a layout consists of, I can come here. Let me erase this. It's a drop-down list. I can select whichever layouts I want, or obviously I can search on them. Click Grid, and go ahead and load that. And this is the JSON that's associated with the layout. It's got all the XML in it. It's got all the everything you associated with this layout is in here. And so why would I have this? If you want to pass layouts around within your organization, if you want us to give you layouts, you can go do it here. You can copy this and paste it into that person's. You can give it a name, say Grid 2, and then you can go ahead and save it, and the layout will be called Grid 2, and it will save to your environment. So let me show you a little bit. Let me jump now to QView, because that was basically all I really wanted to show you in Quincy. And I'm going to jump into QView, and I'm going to show you not only the new features in QView, but I'm going to start out by showing you how this whole thing works with the Layout Manager. Now, before I hop into QView, I want to do sort of a little bit of a disclosure here. I'm on a development system. Because I'm on a development system, I start QView through the debugger. This is going to look a little weird, but for you, it's the equivalent of just clicking on the icon. But so I have to come in here to my Visual Studio's debugger, and I have to click Start. That's the equivalent of launching QView in my world. So I'm going to wait for QView to pop up. And it gives me the option to enter a user for login. Let's go ahead and log in. We're going to log in starting out as the administrator. Oop, maybe I don't have the right password. Let's try that. There we go. I had the wrong password. Okay, so there are a bunch of features I want to show you in QView, but let me start with this layout. So in QView now, if you are an administrator, and only if you are an administrator in QView, you can create layouts. Come here to the Panels tab. Arrange the layout however you want. Let's go ahead and let's put the timeline in, and we'll just call this, we'll call it the timeline layout. And I can go ahead and save that. And now this is the timeline layout. You can see I have the viewer layout and grid layout we saw when we were in Quincy. But now I've added the timeline layout. If I want to delete one of these, I can select on this and click delete. It will delete it. I can edit, update, and do all these different options. But this is how I create views in QView. Now, if I come back to Quincy and refresh this, you're going to see now I have the timeline layout as well. And I can go ahead and assign that to somebody. So let's go ahead and assign that to the Tim user. Save that. Now let's check, make sure it's stuck with us. Let's go and type Tim and select this guy. And he's got only the timeline layout. Perfect. I'm going to close my QView. I'm going to go back into my debugger and restart it. And this time I'm going to log in as the Tim user who is not an administrator. And remember, Tim only has one layout. Tim and the password and log in. Okay, first note, this is not the layout we assigned to them. That's because I have already logged in as Tim previously, and it will always show me the last layout that I had. This allows your QView users to arrange the environment the way they want and have that stick for them. However, if they wanted to get to the layout you'd assigned them, oh, unfortunately, Tim is an administrator. This was a horrible example. Let me log out and log back in as somebody who is not an administrator, and I apologize for this little detour. But let's kill QView. Let me go find, I believe Bob is not an administrator. Yeah, see, Tim is an administrator. He's got that admin role. That's a disaster. Bob is not. So let's go back to our configuration. And let's do the same experiment we just did, only let's do it this time with the Bob user. And let's go ahead and save that. So now Bob should have the timeline view. Perfect. And we'll go back into our debugger, fire this puppy up, log in as Bob, and hopefully this time I'll have a successful demo. You know, sort of Murphy's Law, if it can go wrong, it will go wrong, but hopefully that won't be the case here. Bob's password, and log in. Now again, we have that view that Bob last logged in as, but if we go to panels, and we see he only has the timeline view which we assigned him. So if he clicks on this, he gets that view we just made, and perfect. And we can assign him as many views as we want. If he goes ahead and rearranges the view like this, and then he logs out, this is what he will log into. So let me just show you that. And that's that persistence of view that we maintain always in QView. Logic being is if your user moves stuff around, that's where he wanted it. So let's go ahead and do Bob. And then his password. And we should see, there we go, that's the layout we had left him with. But of course, if he comes back here, and if he selects timeline again, it will revert back to the original timeline layout. So perfect. That's what we wanted to show you there. Let me show you the few other cool key features about QView. Although I'm going to log out and log back in as an administrator because I need to have access to a few specific cases. So one last time logging into QView. All right, here goes. All right, the key features we're going to talk about are filtering and redaction. Those are the two real take-homes other than the managing of layouts that I want to show you guys. So first of all, filtering, just come here to panels. It's as simple as more filters. Notice this is the same as the facets widget or filter widget in Quincy. You have all this functionality. You can filter on email, general, whatever. You need to be logged into a case though, just to let's get into the demo case. There we go. So now if we wanted to do general, you know, the various things available, files, file categories. If you want to filter on docs, you can go ahead and do that. And here are the documents. So pretty cool, hopefully a pretty powerful functionality, frankly. Hopefully it will be useful to you. But while we're in docs, let's take advantage of this and talk a little bit about redaction, which I think is sort of, oops, what did I just do? I removed the, I filtered on videos instead. That's not at all what I wanted. What I wanted to do I apologize, was to get my viewer. So let's get my viewer and let's put it to the right here so we can have both on the same page. A little bit extra content for my viewer, and let's go ahead and select this docx. Okay, DT search examples. Let's say you want to redact this document, or you want to bait stamp it, or you want to do any of the different functionality that you would typically do when doing legal review. We have added this annotate view. Used to be in the last versions you had just all these other ones, no annotate view. Now if you click on annotate, it will take a while to load the document because it has to generate the PDF, and that can be slow. In this case, not so bad, but it could be quite a lot longer than what it just took. But now you have our familiar Quincy viewer. And as a function of that, you have all these redaction options that you had in Quincy. It's exactly the same viewer. You can do all those things. You can bait stamp, you can redact, you can do whatever. So if we wanted to do this, we could, and if we have redaction reasons, they'll show up here, and we can come do that, and redact that and save it if we want. And it all works. So a lot more functionality now in terms of QView if you need to do redaction, bait stamping, production sets. This is unitization, things of that nature. So that's really all I wanted to show you for this release. Hopefully all that stuff seems good to you guys and is of real value. As always, please feel free to post the message board if you have any questions or any future requests. Thank you very much.